Hello, everyone. My name's Lauren, and I am your instructor for World Mythology Online, the first half of the summer semester. I wanted to first introduce myself. Hello. And I wanted to also walk you through some of the main points on the syllabus. I'm sorry I'm doing this a little bit late. I realized once we started that I had no memory left on my computer, and so I had to clear some things off in order to make more room to upload this video. But here we are. Um, so I'm going to go over a couple of main points on your syllabus just so that we're all on the same page and maybe clear up any questions. Also, sorry that I sound like an adolescent boy. I have a sinus infection, courtesy of my two children. Good times. Anyway, apologize for the voice. So let's start with the course requirements. Let's just break down how I'm going to grade this course. So you have regular participation in the discussions and submissions of weekly assignments, which is what we've already started doing. Those are our forum discussions, which we'll be doing twice a week because every week is going to be broken down into two halves. Okay, that's worth 30% of your grade. You're going to have 3 short timed writing assignments. I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But that's 25% of your grade. 1 creative assignment, which is coming up in about a week or so, which is your creation destruction myths. Fun. That's 15% of your grade, and 1 5 to 7 page final paper. There's no final exam in this class. Okay, your required readings, by now you should know the books that you are required to have. Like I said in my email to you before the class started, I don't care if they are print copies, e-versions. I gave you the ISBN so that you do have the actual version, the edition that we're going to be using. That'll help just with, citations and whatever, so that we all know what page is what, and we're not citing from different editions, which could get a little confusing. Anyway, the rest of the materials that you need that are not in your text will be under resources, and I've listed them chronologically in the order that we're reading them. So that should be hopefully convenient. Okay, the structure of a class. Let's break it down. Every week, for each half of the week, there will be some sort of lecture and multimedia materials that you'll be reviewing before you get to your readings. Those are posted under lessons. Those 2 are in chronological order. So just move on down as we go. The titles of somebody asked me, I can't find the actual readings because they were not sort of matching the exact titles of the lectures. The lecture titles are just sort of general what we're covering, Hindu Greek creation myths or something like that. And the specific readings you'll find, in the syllabus, telling you exactly, what we're reading, the page number, the chapter, if we're reading a particular chapter in your anthology. So don't be alarmed if the lesson title is not, matching exactly with what you're specifically reading. But it is touching on what materials we're covering for that particular half of the week. Okay, so I'll be posting. You'll read the lecture materials if there's an accompanying multimedia, like a YouTube video, or we have the family trees for the Norse gods and the Greek gods that we're doing for this part of the week. You'll see those on there, that sort of thing. Okay, and then we have our class discussion. This is a big, aspect of this class, obviously. It's a literature class. We're supposed to discuss literature, so you're going to do that. So the discussion, okay. On Monday mornings by 11 a.m. and on Thursday mornings by 11 a.m., could be earlier, but definitely by those times, I will be posting a list of discussion questions. You'll find those discussion questions under the forum tab, and each particular discussion will be properly labeled so that you'll be able to find specifically what we're reading for that week will be labeled, so you know which one to post to. You are required to post an initial response of 200 to 300 words. I posted a couple of sample examples just so that you would get a sense of, what I'm sort of looking for, the type of detail that I'm looking for. You do not have to answer all of the questions that I'm posting. You should try to answer 1 or 2. Answer the ones that, interest you, that you feel the most drawn to. You want to respond and pull in quotes from the text to help you exemplify some of the points that you're trying to make. These are not, formal papers. You don't need a thesis statement. This is a good way to kind of gather your thoughts, It's a good practice ground, really, for organizing your ideas and using some of the text that we're reading to help you support those ideas, which is exactly what you're going to be doing on a little bit more of a formal scale for your final paper. So think about it in that. Think about it as sort of practice ground for more formal final papers. Okay, so you post an initial response, and then you have to post a follow-up response, a secondary response to one of your fellow classmates. You can post to more than one of your fellow classmates. But the secondary response is a little bit shorter, and it's really intended just to engage a classmate. It's, hey, I really like your thoughts on, the Bacchae, blah, blah, blah. I didn't think about, how Odysseus could be considered, distrustful or something. We're not actually reading, the Odyssey per se, but we will be covering it in Atwood's text. But things like that, or you can raise a question. I wasn't quite sure what you meant here, or you can disagree with somebody respectfully, of course. I appreciate this point that you made, but I actually saw it and interpreted things in a different way. This is the beauty of literature. Literature is subjective, so your opinion on something is completely justified. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just about how well you can support your idea by drawing from the texts that we're reading and putting them in conversation with one another, hence comparative literature. Okay, so you have to respond with both your initial and your secondary response. Both of those posts have to be logged before 11:59 p.m. on Sunday evening and before 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday evening. That's when the forums are going to be locked down, and you will only be able to read. You won't be able to post anything new after that point, so you'll lose points if you don't submit your work for that particular section of the week, okay? So that's a big part of what we're doing here. And the goal is to try to not just sort of post an initial response, go away for a couple of days, come back. The goal is to keep up with what your fellow classmates are writing. Read what they're writing before you start posting so that we're not just sort of echoing each other's ideas and not really building a conversation. The idea is to try to mimic as best we can in this capacity a real live conversation that would happen organically in a classroom, where we sort of share ideas and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. That's the sort of intention here. So keep that in mind when you are posting. Make sure you read through everybody's comments and make sure you're adding something new to the conversation, okay? Writing exercises, we'll have 3 short writing exercises. They will be timed. They'll be posted under assignments. I will let you know during the week when we're gonna have one. I'll give you the day, I'll give you the time. You will log in a couple of minutes before, and once I'll say 5 p.m. we're gonna do, one of our short writing exercises. You'll log on at, eagerly at 4:58 and be ready to go. And at 5 p.m. you'll be under assignments, and it'll come up. There'll be 2, sometimes 3 prompts. You'll choose one question that you want to answer, and you'll basically write a short focused essay. You can use your texts. You'll have 30 minutes to do it. The system will sort of cut you off at 30 minutes. So this has been a problem in the past with other students where they're like, oh my God, I was submitting and I can't submit anymore because it cut me off. And it will lock you out after 30 minutes. So my suggestion is to try to submit about a minute before. Sometimes it takes, a couple of seconds to go through, and you don't want to be kind of at the last, millisecond submitting and then it cuts you out. The problem is that I have no way of knowing whether you submitted 20 seconds late or 5 minutes late, and then it becomes an issue of fairness for your fellow classmates. So just keep that in mind. I will go into more detail about this. There's a resource posted specifically about short writing assignments, so I would look that up and read through it. Okay, your creative assignment and presentation, there are specific details about that posted under assignments already, so I would go take a look at that. You're going to be writing your own creation destruction myths. That's what we're doing for the next week. We're going to be reading various forms of creation and destruction myths from different cultures and talking about them, so you'll have a good base. And there are specific instructions under the assignment for that, and questions that you can use to sort of help generate some ideas. But this is meant to be not formal, fun, creative. Thought it would be a nice sort of counterpoint to the more structured, analytical, assignments that we have that we're doing otherwise. And then, of course, you have your final paper. We'll definitely cover this much more in detail before your final papers are due, but it's 5 to 7 pages. Does not require outside research other than what we're reading for this class. I will give you prompts for that as well. I'll post that about a week and a half before the papers are due. If you want to cover a subject or a topic that I'm not covering in the prompts, you're allowed to do that. You just have to talk to me about it in advance. Whenever I post the prompts, if you don't see something that you're digging, then just email me, be like, hey, I kind of want to write on blah, 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 and use this theme. Great. As long as it seems like legit to me and enough of a paper for you to go on, I'm happy for you to do that too. I'll go into more detail about this later on. You have a grading rubric. You have an attendance policy. So obviously we're not meeting in person, so I can't see your lovely faces to know if you're in class or not. So the way that I'm going to tell this is basically by our discussions and our forum discussions. If you're posting, if you're active every week, then as far as I'm concerned, you're present in class and a participating member and receiving points, for that, for those, weeks that we're discussing these texts. You're allowed to miss one discussion throughout our time together without penalization. You're sick, you've got work, you're busy otherwise, you want to take a beach day, whatever it is, that's your prerogative. You get to miss one without any kind of penalization. After that, 1 point deducted from your final grade for everyone missed. It's just a very short, intensive, term, so we have to be active and keeping up with the readings and the discussion. Okay, so let's just run through policies and then we'll be done. Policies. Late assignments are generally not accepted. The discussions, the forum discussions, those are going to cut you off, like I said, at 11:59 on Sunday and Wednesdays. Final papers, short writing assignments. If you have a conflict with the short writing assignments when I'm signing it, you can get in touch with me in advance and I'll open it for you on another day and time that works for you, but that has to be done in advance. You can't just miss it and be like, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it after the fact. Like I said, there's just too much to do in too short period of a time to be making a lot of different allowances. Everybody's busy, everyone has a lot of things going on, of course, and I will definitely try to work with you guys as much as I possibly can. But again, in advance, talk to me in advance. Okay. If you need to contact me on my Gmail account, elfinelli11@gmail.com. Or you can send me a message on Sakai under the discussion and private messages link. That'll work too. Like I said, you're allowed to miss one discussion. I'm like, why am I out of breath right now? I'm not doing anything. Okay. You're allowed to miss one discussion post throughout the semester for whatever personal reason without penalization. 1 point deducted from your final grade after that. In terms of formatting your papers, don't get fancy. Double-spaced, 1-inch margins, composed in 12 points, Times New Roman font. Simple, classic, go for that. If you have questions about citations, how to cite some of the texts, I gave you a link to the MLL formatting and style guide on Rutgers' website. Plagiarism, don't do it. Just don't do it. Why? Don't do it. It's very easy to do these days, unfortunately, because of, our online access is just amazing. And I think a lot of plagiarism issues happen because students don't realize that they're plagiarizing. They don't realize that that it's not just verbatim writing what somebody else said, but that it's also using the ideas of someone else that you've read perhaps online or elsewhere. So when in doubt, just make sure to cite. And when in doubt, just use your cabeza, use your own head. Okay, and then we have our schedule, and we are up to all of our creation myths. Genesis, Greece, the Norse, the prose eddas are Norse tales, and we're doing a Hindu creation myth as well. And then we'll do destruction the second half of this week. Very dramatic. Okay. If you have any questions about the syllabus, about any other aspect of the course, please feel free to get in touch with me. I do have 2 young babies, so sometimes I am away from my computer for a little while during the day, but I'm usually available after 7:30 p.m. when they're asleep. I am usually much more available. So if you have questions and I don't respond immediately, don't panic. I will probably respond by later that evening. And that's it. That's all she wrote, folks. Questions, get in touch. Okay, let's have fun.